and like, ah, you're too noisy. And like, I said, you don't have to be around me.
Friendship may actually go beyond just relating on a
superficial
basis.
There's the adage that says, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are.
There are some of us who are not very good at regular visit, but because they are friends,
you have to.
In order to maintain that friendship.
The emotional state of the parents is usually directly proportional to the emotional state of the children.
You're welcome again to our favorite family show right here on Ekwa Television International, The Living Room. My name is Amaka Ucheke, and in recent times we've been talking about living with different people in the home, and one of the things we've discussed in the past was living with house helps. As Nigerians, many of us have had to live with relatives or have relatives live with us one time or the other, and today that's what we're going to be talking about. Living with relatives and living with relatives in a way that honors God. We'll look at the challenges and how best to approach this issue. With me right here in the studio is Mrs. Ibe Namo.
Good evening, viewers.
And one of my favorite aunties, Ngo Florence Jambo.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I call her my English auntie. She speaks English very well. She's a women leader, both in church and in her community, and she runs a school, Gwal Prime Academy in Barking Ladi. Yes, and we know Mrs. Namo, teacher like me. Anyway, they've all have experience living with relatives, so we're going to delve right into the matter. Okay. Auntie, let's start with you. Like, how many relatives have you lived with? Or have lived with you? I know, let's not talk about you growing up, but you now, from the time you started living as an independent member of society. Like, I know you may not get the right count, but
yes,
an idea, relatives that have lived with you.
Yeah, I can't even call the number. But just to say that right from the beginning, just when I was less than a year married, I began to have people live with me. So, having been 40 years and above married,
whoa,
you can expect that, well, I've had to live with quite a number, not less than 30.
Whoa.
That's a small number.
That's
if I
a
want
village.
To call. They've come at one time or the other and lived with us, and some have left. Many have left. All of them have left except a few now.
Okay, have moved on with their own lives.
They've moved on with their own lives.
Mrs. Namo, how many people have you lived with? I know it's not up to 30. You have not been married for 40 years. So.
It's not up to 30, but I also started living with, in fact, I was married with someone already living with my husband.
Okay.
And then just 3 months after my wedding, we went to the village. And like 3 or 4 persons wanted to dash us their children. That was all. But eventually, I chose one of them to come and live with me. And she lived with me. And after that, we have had those who came for a short time. We have had people who have spent like 1 year, 2 years. We have had people who have come to stay with us permanently. Right now, I have one that is still staying with me.
Okay, you are doing well. So, Auntie Jambo, so what has your experience been like? Living with relatives?
Yeah. When I was growing up as a very young girl, I came to see my parents bring in other relatives. Okay. My father was a headmaster, village headmaster.
Now we know where the English is coming from.
So he had so many people wanting to bring their children into school because, I mean, then it was a very high privilege for anyone, you know, to
Go to school.
Go to school. And so each time, of our siblings, I'm the seventh of 8 children.
Oh,
My
really?
parents, yes.
We behave like a firstborn.
So, already we were 8. And then, of course, there were no single times that we would not find 1, 2, 3 other people living with us. And so we grew up to see, other children, not of our biological parents, live with us. And one thing that our parents kept reminding us and made sure they supervised and ensured we were doing it right was never to see these other children as different from us. Whatever it was that was meant for them was also meant for us. And whatever was meant for us was meant for them. And so that we grew up with. And as I got into marriage, I began to also have in-laws coming in to live with me. And I came with that mentality, to really just bounce into and just accept them in. And there were other times that I saw, it looks as if, there's this mentality that someone else has come to kind of take our place and so on. But I had to adjust to the fact that people are different. And I just was reminded often by our parents that we are all different. And even twins, you would find are different, in their approach to certain things and the way their worldview of whatever it is. And so with that, I had learned, at least from my parents, to know that everyone is different in some way. You may have similarities, but there are certain things about you that are different. And for that, I should learn to also see what is it that is different about that person and see how I can adjust in, if I could. Because I also expect that the person should know I'm different and we should live together.
Great. So, Mrs. Namo, what has been your own experience?
Well, I think before talking about my experience, I need to say here that living with people are in categories. There are those who come as children, those who come as teenagers, and then you have adults who come to live with you. And the experiences are quite different. From those who are children who come, there might be childish behavior here and there that you have to deal with the consent of the parent of the child that is coming to live with you, if you people are relating well together. And then there are these teenagers, maybe because they got admission, and somehow they ended up in your house for a while, and sometimes for a longer time than you expected. Maybe they came with the hope of spending like a few days or a few weeks, they will get accommodation, and then it didn't happen, and eventually they
go
stayed
to school from your house.
Mm-hmm. And then you have these adults who come maybe for some job, something, or they got a job and they couldn't find accommodation, and then they have to stay with you for a while. And then because they enjoy your house, they don't want to go anymore. Yeah. Every day you ask, what of the accommodation? They say, are working on it. The accommodation is looking like it's not going to happen, And the experiences with this different set of persons are actually different, with the adults, it's usually, most times, is like a competition. One of my friends told me that her husband's brother, who got a job and eventually ended up staying with them, called her one day to tell her that he had noticed that when she wants to serve her husband's food, she serves it with respect. But when she wants to serve his own food, she doesn't add respect to it, that he is not a child though, just because he's staying in their house, so you can imagine that kind of a thing. So living with this relative, we have to be very, very careful, especially the adult relatives and then the teenage relative. The level of carefulness comes with who the age of the persons that are living with you. With the adult, most time there is a competition. You see an adult lady living with you, especially maybe from your husband's place, and she sees you as if, okay, this is my brother's house, I can do whatever I like, you should respect me. She doesn't want to help you with the house chores. She sees that you cannot give her instructions, and you see a kind of competition for the attention of your husband with your sister-in-law, or maybe your husband's cousin, and things like that. And then you have these teenagers who have picked characters from their homes, and they come into your house. In their homes, they are used to not maybe doing chores, and then they come into your house and you're saying, in this house we do chores, and they are struggling to do it. And then maybe there are programs you don't watch because of your children, and they in their house, they are freelance, and so they want to insist on such programs, so the experiences usually are different depending on the age of the people.
So let's look at, as somebody says, we should do things sandwich method. Start with the good, then the bad. So let's start with the good. Auntie, what advantages are there with living with relatives? Are there advantages, and if they are, what are they?
Well, the advantages are, one of them is that you are able to impart into one another. There are things actually you could learn as the host from the person coming in. And like I keep saying to them, let me know how you do some of these things, because this is the way, like she said, we do things here. So you find it's a two-way thing that you expect to let that person know that they also have something to offer, and you're willing to take in what they have to offer if it is good for all of you. The advantage of you knowing that you stand a very good chance to relate with them to the point that they see the goodness of God in your life, and also love that God that you love. Because lots of times, actually, it looks as if people's knowledge of God is very shallow. And because most of the time you find these relations coming from maybe the villages, the rural areas, and wherever, they have come with mixed religion or whatever, and you find that they really do not have a good stance of who Christ is. And so one of those good things is that you are imparting something about the Lord in them. You also find that they are sometimes helpful to you. A lot of times, they give you a helping hand if they choose to. Those that come with the willingness to actually assist you will assist you. And you find that, they lessen some of the burden of some of the chores you have to do, in the home. And some of them are lively, and they come and they kind of make you feel good that you are also, a part of them. But some of them actually just stay off there. And the good thing about it is that, for me personally, is that I am able to send in something into them to see the difference, and to also love, to begin to live a life that I think is the best life to live.
Thank you. Mrs. Namo, is that something more you want to add about the upside of living with relatives?
Yeah, I think she said everything. You are able to impact life. You are able to, some of them learn more about the true Christian faith. Maybe what they have is just religion, and then when they come to stay with you, they learn the true Christian faith. Some of them, you are able to provide education, a better education that they would have gotten from where they are coming from, and they become better persons, by virtue of that. And then the house chores too, some of them can be very helpful if they live with you. Yeah.
I think also, for some of them, they can also help you teach your children the language.
Yeah.
They can also help you teach your children the language, especially if you are not always available to teach them. Okay, now we've looked at the good sides, downsides. I know Mrs. Namo has alluded to some, but let's get back to you. Downsides.
I think there are more than the good.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Lots of them come with this entitlement mentality.
Exactly.
It is my brother's house, or it is it could be me. It is my sister's house. After all, they are living, they are living a little above ourselves, our own kind of life. And
it's our responsibility
it is
to take care of
exactly. I mean, what are they there for? What is their money there for? And so you find a lot of times they come, and instead of them to lie low and see what you have to offer, they begin to make the demands upfront. And those demands, and like she said, some of them are even having to have you, respect them for, being your husband's this or that. And like she talked about age too, I'm coming to you, and you find, like for some of us in our communities, boys I'll call them boys, of 17, 18 are already having wives. So
Wives and
they
children.
come in and they make you feel, don't you think I can marry a woman at this point? And so you shouldn't treat me like that. And that makes you begin to wonder, how do I ask this person, to do this? Because the way they will respond to you, I think, will make you just cow down. But the negative part of it is, a lot of times you find people, they come, they insist they must turn around your own kind of lifestyle because they do not want to learn yours. And that is a very difficult aspect that I have found. And you find that you're left with either, sending them away, or having them to continue to cause pain for you because you're trying to see, how do I allow this person to, to take away my space? They have come in to take my space. And they need to know that you have come in and you're supposed to learn what we are doing here. But they want to really have their own space, and with whatever baggage they have come, that you should allow that. For me, it's one of the very difficult things to do, to try to change the mentality to say, you have come to live with us. Let us live and learn from one another. It's a very difficult one. Secondly, most of them also feel that you're not supposed to make them do certain things. Even when you are doing them, even when your children are doing them, it is that, no, and after all, they actually do them out there, back there.
Yeah.
Or some of them, because of the way their parents are also raising them, they don't allow them to do some of those things. And your children are doing those things in the home, and they feel, no, I cannot do this. And to get them to do that becomes a very serious matter. So truly, you find that a lot of times too, people come and you don't know their kind of character. They come to begin to indoctrinate your children into some kinds of lifestyles. Because I want to tell you that the lives people live in rural areas is even more corrupt and dirty in comparison to, coming into maybe township kind of life. And so you find that a lot of times they come raw, and if you're not careful and watchful, they will begin to send your children into another kind of lifestyle. And you find them wanting to take over. And like she said, there are certain programs you don't want your children to watch. There are certain things you don't, but they would want to come and sit over and want to do those things because they have their village squares where they watch those things, and it really doesn't matter. So beginning to make them to live like you live is a very difficult aspect of it, and you find that there are often conflicts.
You want to add to?
Yeah, I think another area is, I think from the beginning I talked about competition, and then another area I also looked at is if most of the rape cases I have handled, more than half of them were raped by the relative living with their parents. Yeah, in fact, one of the girls I remember very well, she was raped by her. She was consistently raped by her mother's younger brother who was living with them. You know, so sometimes these people, like she said, they come raw. So they come with very bad attitude and character. And when they come to your house, they want to bring that their character to play in your house, especially over your children. You know, the girl, I remember when we were talking with her, she said that the boy told her that if she ever mentions this to her mother, first of all, she knows that her mother will not believe her because her mother trusts him. And then if she ever mentioned it to her mother, he was going to kill her. So she's been carrying it, you know, all over the place. And one day I did a training somewhere and she heard me. So I talked about speaking out, you know, so she came and said, "Ma, please." And then she started, you know, to talk. So sometimes some of these people who live with us end up indoctrinating our children, end up doing very terrible things to our children. Some of the boys who have ended up, you know, becoming drug addicts, they learnt it from people who have lived with them. You know, so that's why the negative side can be very, very serious. So we need to be very careful because sometimes this one about choice or no choice are part of the negative side, but sometimes they are not even compared to the other evil that some of these people come to do in our houses. And that's why we need to be very careful when relatives come to live with us. Okay. Even some of them who are from the city. So it doesn't matter whether those of the villages, we already know this is a raw material that is coming, you are ready for it. But there are some who came. In fact, there was a girl I worked with. The person who raped her was her father's friend, who comes every time to the state where they stay from another state in the name of conference. And the father always accommodates him. Instead of him, you know, the father felt, instead of him wasting money in hotel, he should come and stay with them. They have a big house. And every time he comes, he rapes their girl. And as at the time I met the girl, she was just 15. And he had raped her like 3 times, you know. So these are things that we have to be very careful about. Allowing people to just, in fact, I think sometimes you should pay for a hotel for your friend than to let them stay in your house. Yeah.
Okay. So we've been talking about living with relatives, the upsides and the downside. One other upside we didn't mention is that they teach you patience.
Yeah.
As we're asking the Lord to make us patient and want the fruits of the Spirit.
Yes.
Those, they teach us patience. We have to learn patience with them. So we'll go on break, and when we come back, we'll continue discussing how to live with relatives in a way that will honor God and bless our homes.
The mandate of reaching out to the world with the message of salvation and truth is a zeal that has consumed us. Equa Television International is live 24/7, reaching out to the unreached with undiluted message of hope through its programming.
You can be part of what God is using us to do by praying for Equa TV and supporting Equa TV. Keep watching Equa Television International.
We are a Christian station with the driving force and mandate to reach out to the world with the gospel of salvation and truth through programming and soul-lifting events.
You can join on this mandate. Let's spread the gospel of truth and salvation to the world. Pray for Equa Television. Support Equa Television. Keep watching Equa Television.
Sharing with the world the message of truth to help people come to the saving knowledge of our Lord and King, Jesus Christ, as well as find solace in Him.
From sermon, theology, undiluted biblical principles to Christian music and drama that aims to give hope, peace, strength, happiness, as well as strengthen the faith of those who diligently seek Jesus Christ.
viewers back from the break. Thank you for not touching that dial and for being with us at the living room right here on Equa TV International. We've been talking about living with relatives. We've talked about the upsides. We've talked about some of the downsides. And we'll still continue. There are a few downsides that were just mentioned. And I'll be here with Mrs. Ibi Namo and Ngo Florence Jambo discussing this very pertinent issue that affects almost all of us. Yes, you were talking about a few downsides that we hadn't mentioned.
Yeah, theft is another very terrible area. You know, some of these people come to live with you, and because, like she said, they come with this entitlement mentality. They feel that you owe them. It's not like they've done anything for you, but they just feel like you owe them because you are better placed than them. So you owe them to give to them. So they come to your house, you give food, and they feel like you have not given them enough. They take your money, they take things from your store. In fact, some of them pack things and send to their relative, to their own parents from your store without your knowledge, you know. So stealing is one of them. And I used to know a girl that, you know, when they give her offering, she will put it in her Bible, and then she will come back with the same offering. And the people didn't know. Then she went to school. When she gets to school, she will now be spending money, you know. And so the people in school noticed the way she was spending money, and they were like, the teachers were like, they know the woman that this lady is staying with. Even her children don't spend this kind of money. So they had to call the attention of the woman. When she came, it was upon interrogation, they discovered that she doesn't give offering in church. So every time they give her offering, she saves it to go and spend. So the stealing aspect is another aspect. And then some of them come as if they came to destroy things in your house. They just, everything that they touch, they just spoil it. And you are wondering, is it like they are possessed or something? I don't know whether some of them do it deliberately, or it's just that they are careless, or they are not used to the item. I'm not talking about breakage. You know, breakage is common to everybody, including myself. You know, but I'm talking about destroying things, you know. One used something and burnt a mattress, burnt it and made a hole, and then packed things inside in the middle of the mattress until the day they were trying to, I think, turn over the other. How did this happen? You know, so I don't know. So sometimes, you know, those are some of the downsides. So we need to really put our eyes out when we are bringing in relatives.
Any other downside?
Yeah, there's often the struggle to have to get them to be honest. A lot of times they tell a lot of lies and in fact gossip around. And if they are able to send any messages, like we say, they will give false information about what is happening to them in that house. And you find that a lot of times there are people on the other side don't believe that that is not the case.
Oh, you're already wicked.
Yeah.
Yes. So when they come, when they kind of see things, sometimes they will even send messages. Well, if you don't want this person here, send them back to us. After all, we will remain poor. I mean, they will say all kinds of things. You know, you know. And that really is an aspect that you find even in the neighborhood. Neighbors begin to look at you and say, but this is not the way we see this person. What this person is saying about this person, why should this person be doing this? And a lot of times, truly, you know, neighbors sometimes are not open to you. They say, this is what this person is saying. What is happening? So you find that word is just going around, and you're just seeing yourself as one devil around, you know, in the community. That is really making the people you live with and around, you know, not see you, and, you know, you're not passing a good message to them. Meanwhile, that is not true, what they are saying.
And I think also one of the problems that could also occur is that they maltreat your children.
Very well.
Apart from the sexual abuse, they can also maltreat your children. Though there are some that can be very nice. Okay, let's press forward. What do we do? How can we live with them in a way that honors God, our relatives?
as far as it depends on you, the Bible says, live at peace with all men. It's a very difficult thing to say and to do, particularly to do, because as we've narrated some of these scenarios, it is difficult for you to reach out to such a person, but the Lord is expecting us to now come to reason with that person. It is possible, like we've said before, those people do not know the Lord at the level that you do. And so it is important for you to keep on letting them come close, opening up to them to know this is what you are, this is who you are, this is what the Bible and the Word of God says we are, and this is what you are supposed to also be. And so in all of this, we must keep on letting them know that they're not doing this to you as a person. There is someone, and this is God. And for them to know that the fear of God should make them to live right. When you do that, you will also apply discipline, because there are times that you will need to sit. Your no is your no. Hey, you've come here. This is my space. This is what I want in this space. And so if you're coming any different, this is not where you belong. So you need to take a stand and make up your mind where and what you want to be in this place. If this place is too small for you and I think one of us will need to give way.
It's not me.
No, definitely not me. So taking a stance on that and letting them know that this is the way we do things here. If you have any reason why you think you cannot do these things, let us know. Because you may have cogent reasons why probably the things we are saying you should be or do, are different. And probably your argument is more superior. Let us know. And we may look at it and give in. But a lot of times, of course, it is not. So we insist. And while we are showing the love of God, while we are being tolerant, we are also being stern. We are also being resolute on the things that we expect to see happen in our homes. Because coming to change the atmosphere and change the way we live in our home and it's not glorifying to God, I think it's danger sign to us. So it's to let them know this is our stand and
we must stick to it.
Let's stick to it.
Sister Mo, how else can we press forward?
Yeah.
Though before you say all these things, you need to be prayerful, Abi?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In fact,
a lot.
Yes, because some actually there's need for deliverance. So as we take in these people, we must really prayerfully, look at them and see there are needs to counsel them seriously in certain aspects, because there may be some manifestations that are actually not of the Lord, and so there will be need to do some casting out of whatever it is.
Okay. So, Mrs. Namo, I want us to come back to this deliverance issue.
I wanted to start with the issue of prayer and the need for you to be very sensitive as a family, to be sensitive to the people around you. And you don't just teach them, you teach your children.
Oh, yes.
Like I stood with the mother and I said, if you had taught your daughter to speak to you on any matter without fear, then your brother wouldn't have been able to instill fear in your child.
Yeah.
So you need to teach your children to be respectful to the people who live with you, but also to bring to your notice anything that is not correct. And you also need to bond as a family first, because if there is a broken wall in your home, these people will prey on that broken wall. They will take advantage of the broken wall. If a husband and wife are already having issues, when they come, they will just stand in between. They will fan the fire here and fan the fire here. And you will see a man beating his wife for his brother. You see a man beating his wife for his sister. It doesn't make sense. As a husband or as a wife, you should know that first, this is your home. And you need to keep your home and keep it. Every other person that is coming from outside is a second person. And he cannot, when your sister or your brother is reporting your wife, instead of getting angry. You need to sit with your wife or sit with your husband and find out what exactly happened. And when you have talked, but you know, there was a time they reported a case to my husband. She said, my wife, okay, I'm coming. He came home and sat with me, and when we finished talking, he went and told them that the matter is settled. My wife didn't do anything. They were saying, so some of them went with the story that she's controlling her husband. I say, so who is supposed to control you? Is it you? Is she not my wife? You know, so we need to take a stand as a family. You need to know that your wife and children come first, or your husband and children come first. Your sister, your brother staying with you. Yes, you can be responsible for things concerning them. You can be responsible for things around them, but you should know that your family come first. And if they know, they will also be careful.
To respect your
boundaries. Yes, they will
Yeah.
also be careful. But most times, you know, Africans, the way we are, when your maybe your uncle even came to the house to spend a few times and then sit you down, begin to tell you, this your wife is very wicked, this your husband is very, and you take that and you start using it, you're already causing trouble. So we need to be sensitive. We need to hold our family, our immediate family together. We need to be prayerful, and we need to you need to make a choice and let them know that from here to here, that's how things work
said,
here. Yes,
you
just
draw
like
the
say,
line
yeah.
and say this is this. Is there something else you want to add to it?
The aspect of having family together, and I like what she said, and I think it's very, very important that our children are also taught from the word go whatever virtues they need to have and learn and live with. When other people come in, they will find them doing that and being that. They will not be able to easily, influence their children on the other side. And I like that openness, the way your family operates, openly. Your children are able to talk with you about any and everything. That would make those other ones know that, okay, you can. And a lot of times what I do is to try to pull close, very close from the word go. As they see me joke with my children, and some people say I have grown with my children because they are now my friends. And when we go to the market, they say, well, where is your friend? Where is your friend? Because we're always together, doing things together, thinking alike, and so when they see us, relating in that way, they now know that, these people, you cannot, just go and touch them easily. And so I try to get close to say to them, open up, feel free. Let's talk about, and I initiate certain talks to be able to, pull out what are those things that maybe this person is not willing to open up and say. And sometimes you find actually they are battling with certain issues, very serious issues. And so from that point on, then family devotion must be that we as a family are together, coming together before the presence of God. And within such a time, things begin to unveil.
And I think one other thing too for our children is to also reassure them. Sometimes when other people come, your children feel that your love and attention is divided.
Yeah.
So you need to reassure your children that the love you have is enough for them, and to also share with other people so that they are not
Feeling neglected.
neglected in the home. Now let's go back to this deliverance issue. Now, why I want to raise the deliverance issue is when you do deliverance for somebody who is not willing to be delivered, that means even when the demon leaves, the place will be swept, cleaned, and the demon will go after. That's what scripture says. It will go around and then come and see the place clean, swept, and everything, to go and bring 7 demons stronger and come back. So the person's second estate is worse than the person's original state. So with that understanding, what do we say about taking people who we feel, people who live with us, who we feel have issues and need prayers? What do you do? Because I see people I know some people, even once somebody is coming to their house, before you settle, they'll take you for deliverance before we start. And I'm like, if this person is not ready, the condition will be 7 times worse. So what let's speak to that.
Relating with those people, the Lord with you. He that is in you is greater than he that is out there. So you are going in the power of the Lord, approaching this person who has come. Like I said, right from the word go, relate with that person. There will be discernment. The Lord will show you there's something about this person that needs. So you press further. Some of them can pretend for quite a long time, for some time. And you may not really see that in them, but you press on. And if for any reason there has been deliverance, follow up is the greatest thing you must devote your time to, and that is discipleship. That person must now begin to know a lot about this thing that has happened. You have been delivered of this, yes. What does the Bible say? And then you begin to take that person through for a while. And if that person is still in that, you will know. You will know. And it is, of course, to face up. Hey, we have been in this together. We have been in this with you. You've been made to understand this and this and this and this. We're at this point. Where are you? Because if the person is not truly willing, to be, to allow themselves to be delivered and to begin to walk with and in the Lord, there might be a reason to save her.
Your ties, you go your different ways. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, you should first of all ask God for discernment. I think that's why you need to be sensitive to people who come to your house. And if you discover there is a problem, there's a need to talk about it first before you start going for prayer, because so that you don't waste your prayer. Let me give you a joke. There was a time opposite our house, a boy was displaying some attitude, and then the wife, he's married, a very young boy, but he got married. He's a gate man to a house opposite my house. And then he was displaying some character, demons here, he was just displaying. And then his wife started shouting and crying for help. I remember a lot of people from the neighborhood came, and those ones who felt they were spiritual started casting and binding. And the thing went on for a while. And after a while, it was like he calmed down, and people felt, okay, the demons have left him, and people returned to their houses. There was one elderly woman in the area. She stayed back. So much later, when she was coming out, she saw a few boys coming, and they were laughing. So she was now saying, iskaya buga mutun kuna daria, that which is disturbing somebody, and you people are laughing. The boy say, "Is cooking chicken goes koloni." He got drunk. So what he was seeing was actually an influence of drunkenness. There was no demon anywhere.
And people were
praying. So you need to have a reason to pray, so that you don't waste your prayers. So if you found a reason to pray, you need to also talk to the person involved. I remember when I was still single, we went to pray for a lady. Apparently they said she was demon possessed, and we came and we started praying. But somehow in the middle of prayers, something stopped us. And I asked her, I said, "Do you want to be delivered?" And she said no. So I told them, I said, "So what are we doing here? Please, let us go." And we left. The person that we came to pray for is not willing to be delivered. So why are we using energy? So we need to find out whether this person is involved and need help. And that's why the teaching can come. Do you really want to be out? Because some of them are, and some, I discovered those ones who come from the village actually use that thing to threaten you. Even when they are not possessed. It happened to me. One of them came and he was displaying character, and he told another lady that was living with me that she's possessed, so she has 7 demons, and she has come to do things in this house. So the lady now ran to me and said, "Hey, this is what this person." I said, "If she came with demons, she will die with it. Nothing will happen here." I say, let her display her demons now, let us see. So it was much later she told them that she just said it, though she wanted to scare us, that because the way I'm handling her, she thought that if she said that, I will stop. I say she doesn't know what brought her here. So be sure of what is really happening.
You must be sensitive.
And then
you must be sensitive and discerning.
Teach, and then you teach and get a willingness before you go into deliverance.
Okay, so having done all this, made efforts to be able to live with them and do all you need to do with your relatives. I think there are some that after all said and done, some need to go.
You need to let go,
Especially the ones you've raised about the issue of sexual abuse to your kids. Those ones have to go. There's I don't think there's any management in that one. Those ones must go. What are the other issues that people need to go?
If there is the issue of theft, consistent stealing, and you have talked, you have counseled, you have done everything, and the person still continues to steal, I think you need to let the person go. There are some other persons who have character issues, they've made up their mind, they are not ready to change. So whatever you are doing, you are just wasting your time, and you do everything, you try to help the person will pretend like he or she is, and then display the character later, and even worse character than you thought he or she has. So when it's getting to a point, I think you need to tell the person, I beg, this is my house, and please, you can excuse us.
As Auntie says, we need to see very
yes.
So Auntie, what other things really?
For most of us have learned, and our children, that you have freedom, but there's also boundaries. Our children have learned that, and they're living with that. Most of these ones who come do not have a limit to where they can reach in whatever. And a lot of times you then find that they are not willing, to be kept within those bounds. Somehow, some of us, our children have learned to do lots more at home than, going to see this friend, going to see that friend, going there, going there. But most of these ones, even when you've put them in school, they go to school and come back. They want to go into Angwa, and see friends and do this. Even when they go to church, they are branching here and there, and then, sneaky things. You're straightforward, your children are straight, and it's like, what's happening? Now, when you want to restrict them and say, okay, I know what time you go to church in the evening, I know what time you should be back, they don't like that. And a lot of times you begin to see them really, really wanting to lie about one thing or the other, why they have stayed longer, and so on. I have had instances where they don't just like to be put in there. They want to just go on. And some of them have had to willingly even come and say, I want to go.
Okay, that makes it easier.
It makes it a lot easier. So if you say you want to go, and we've discussed with you and you've seen that you want to go, and sometimes when you call their relations back home and say, okay, this person says they want to go, let's send them. Let's come and chop our karkashi together. Send them back, and they will go. But shortly
after, they want to come back.
Their lives are something else.
Yeah.
They've gone into marriage, like for the young girls, you just
pregnant,
2-3 weeks, 1 month, you hear, oh, she's in somebody's house. Meanwhile, that person is also being fed by his parents, and then you are there as a wife. And that is how the life begins to, waste away.
Thank you. So, we've been told it's time up. Viewers, we need to end it here. We've been talking about living with relatives, and we've talked about the upsides, the advantages of living with relatives, including developing the fruit of the spirit of patience and long-suffering in us is also all part of it.
Yeah.
And also we've looked at some of the downsides of living with relatives. And some relatives, we've heard, can be abusive, both physically and sexually, to your children. I've also told ourselves that we need to be prayerful. we need to be sensitive and discerning, and then act based on that. And then importantly too, couples must be together, husband and wife. You must be on the same page. Your family is most important. Number one, your family is number one before any other thing. And anything that will cause problems in your family, will cause breakdown in your family, will cause your children to have problems, you need to solve it. You need to solve it. There are no sentiments involved.
No.
Because God is going to ask you about your children, about your wife, and about your husband. You must take care of that. So thank you very much, Mrs. Namo, for the extensive discussion. And Ngo Jambo, thank you so much, Auntie.
Thank you so
As
much
usual.
for the opportunity.
And I'm sure you people heard her English. That's why I call her English Auntie. Thank you so much for your wealth of experience. And so, viewers, going forward, we hope that you will be able to live with your relatives in wisdom and in a way that honors God. And one of the first scriptures she told us, Ngo Jambo told us at the beginning, is that we should live, as much as lies within us, we should live at peace with all men, and that includes our relatives. So thank you so much for sticking with us till the end of this program. We look forward to seeing you again, same time, same place next week. God bless you, and let's keep shining for Jesus.
Mhm.